Well, he knows Earth is going to be attacked. He knows that you can do something to prevent it in advance. He knows he's not going to do anything about it. So, what's up, guys? So, yesterday I did a trailer review for Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, and I was mentioning how Lex Luthor's character might not be as good, but then I was thinking last night, hey, you know what? Do you remember Dark Knight? Do you remember how people didn't know how much of an important character the Joker would be in that movie? Same thing with this year right now. I'm thinking like Lex Luthor, so much bigger. So it could be that he steals the show from Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, everyone. He has those one-liners, and you know what? I was thinking, let's take a look at who Lex Luthor is. His full name is Alexander Joseph Luthor, and he was born in the slums of Metropolis, and he was living in poor environment. And the thing is, he didn't wanna end up being poor. He killed his, so he didn't want to end up in the same financial situation throughout his whole life. So what he did, he had this evil character already like when he was a kid, and what he did was he got insurance policy for his parents, and he killed both of them and took the money and then opened up his own company. Oh man, evil. But after he opened up his business, he turned it into a multinational corporation, so it got bigger and bigger. And the thing is, like, because he was owning all these media outlets, he portrayed himself as this positive philanthropist, that he was one of the saviors for the city. The one very important he didn't own was Daily Planet, and who was working there? Well, he didn't work at that time when he was taking over all those other news outlets. Clark Kent joined in after. The person at Daily Planet who didn't want to sell to Mr. Luthor was Perry White. Luthor didn't like it because Perry was really outspoken, and if something was wrong, he was telling them, it's like, no, this doesn't go that way. You're going off track here. You might be wondering, what kind of business did he do? And Lex was involved in businesses from telephone to video gaming, a wide variety of businesses, so he had his foot in everywhere. And Lex would create havoc on the streets by selling weapons to the gangs of Metropolis and using his primarily female staff of underlings to keep blackmail files on all of the major organized crime groups in the city. Lex could use them to further any schemes he had planned. However, that all ended with the arrival of Superman. Oh, Superman arrives, and several months after Superman has arrived in Metropolis, there's an attack on a social gala on Lex Luthor's boat. And what happens is, obviously, there's problems coming up, and then Superman is in town, so obviously he probably comes to rescue them. Lois Lane is actually on that boat as well. Superman obviously rescues them, and things like afterwards, Luthor wants to hire Superman as his bodyguard. But then when it comes out that Luthor actually had known in advance that this attack by those terrorists was gonna happen, and he didn't do anything about it, it's like, what the heck is wrong with you? Why wouldn't you do something? Well, Luthor did it because he wanted to see Superman in action. It's like, yeah, I see him fighting on TV. I hear about his fights on radio. I see about his fights in the newspaper. I see about these fights on my Facebook newsfeed feed, Twitter posts, but I haven't seen it live. Hey, you know what? Let's see. That's what he thought. I'm like, whoa. Come on, man. Yeah, Berkowitz, he deputized Superman to arrest Lex Luthor because he had known about all this, and he didn't do anything about it because he knew in advance. It's not like you saw a Twitter feed like 5 minutes after it happens, like, oh my god, there's something happening on my boat and I don't know. Well, you knew in advance. But yeah, so thanks to legal technicality, he was not You couldn't put him in jail. Because of that, he wants to destroy Superman because Superman humiliated him. He was this big man in town, and all of a sudden you come in with your cape and you're like, I'm gonna save the city and I'm gonna bring you down too because you knew 5 minutes in advance. And you know what? I think he knew 5 minutes in advance. He should have done something. And for him, like, he was just pissed off because his plan, his whatever he had planned, did not work out, and Superman had spoiled it, and he won't take revenge because of that. You know how Superman has a weakness, and it's kryptonite. And guess where the kryptonite came from? Kryptonite-powered cyborg Metallo was abducted by Lex Luthor before he tried to kill Superman. And he made a signet ring from the alien. And as you know, like with kryptonite, Superman gets really weak. So he can't do anything. So that ring all the time. That ring with the kryptonite. Because he was wearing the ring all the time, it had long-term effects. He had too much radiation, and he ended up having cancer because he was wearing the ring all the time. And before, like, he didn't know that, hey, you know what, if you wear it on Earth, would it affect me in a negative way? He didn't think about all that. Well, he didn't think about it earlier either with the boat, right? So, but then at the same time, obviously Luthor has money. He was able to find out how to protect himself from the side effects of the ring, and also found out that, you know what, there's different kinds of kryptonite, and he would use it in his future battles. Because of the cancer spreading so fast, Lex Luthor had to wear a prosthetic version, and he was off the arm and under a black leather. However, the cancer was spreading so fast he couldn't. The disease was terminal, and so what Luthor obviously did? He faked his own death. And how did he do it? Well, he had a jet. He had a jet. And he took that jet and flew. And obviously crashed into the Andes of Peru. And made it seem like he had an accident with his plane, even though he didn't. What he did though, after his death, they took his brain and he wanted it to be in a new body so he can still live on, have his thoughts, have his smarts, and it was put into another healthy clone of himself. And he's smart. He used his new identity as his son to use Supergirl and to continue torment Superman. Lois Lane discovered the past that Lex Luthor had murdered a female LexCorp employee and framed an innocent man for the murder years earlier. This led to Lois finding the truth about Lex faking his death and being his own son. Luthor finds out and he's gonna destroy her life. It's like, whoa. Like, you already know how evil he is. What do you think he's gonna do to her? And Lois goes to Superman, asks him for help. It tells him what happened to Lex Luthor's son is actually Lex Luthor. It's like, it sounds trippy when you hear it, but when you hear it with the full context, it makes more sense. Well, for the universe at least. And because his body was going so old, he activated the Doomsday Plan right before. Got so old that he couldn't move or communicate, and before that he activated Doomsday. It's like, whew, that man, he's evil. It's like because of that Doomsday Plan, a lot of people got killed, and he was left in his clone body. And Luthor didn't want to always stay in that clone body, so he made a pact with Demon Neuron. He sold his soul in exchange for Neuron to restore his body. He sold his soul. The smart guy he is, he goes back to town. He goes to the cops, surrenders, and obviously there's a trial. And what does he come up with? Well, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was the clone. The clone. You know, it wasn't me. He was saying like the clone, and the cops might be wondering, like, hey, you know, what are you talking about clones? You're saying like, you know what? There were these scientists, and they did this to me, and It's not my fault. It's not. It's not. So obviously he got out, and he had cultivated a popular image as a great philanthropist. He had been instrumental in reverse engineering alien technology, how you can use it over here on Earth. So with the re-engineering and using alien technology for food and also for other things, he was able to bring Metropolis back from everything what happened. But what happened was after Metropolis was like a paradise, there was an earthquake and that changed everything. He was able to, Lex Corp was able to rebuild Metropolis City into the city of tomorrow. And you had Gotham City, and Gotham City had a big earthquake, and Lex Corp was going to go into that town as well, start rebuilding it. He helped rebuilding Gotham City. He did. Oh my god, I didn't know that. It all makes sense. And despite his hatred for Lois Lane for temporarily bringing down his evil criminal empire, Lex Luthor has an unspoken love for her. On several occasions, Luthor had commented that had Superman not arrived in Metropolis, Lex would have used this time and energy to romantically pursue Lois and marry her. He has been like you might be wondering, is Lois Lane his first love? First love? No. Lois Lane is his seventh? First? No. Second? No. Third? No. Fifth? No. Oh man. Sixth? No. Eighth? No. He had been married 8 times before. So number 9 is Lois Lane. All that happened though before Superman arrived, so it happened in the past. And while his previous 7 marriages have been based on love, or like whatever Lex Luthor thinks is love, Luthor's 8th marriage to Contessa Enrica Alexandra del Potenza, or the Contessa as she was called, was a marriage that was based on mutual manipulation and greed. So the marriage was doomed from the beginning, because since the beginning they would always be fighting. Contessa got pregnant with Lex's child, and she was blackmailing Lex with the unborn child. What Contessa wanted, she wanted to be unconscious during the birth of her child. So Luthor did what she asked for and made her unconscious, but things like she kept being in that state even after the kid was born, and Luthor had locked her up in the basement. She was permanently drugged in an unconscious state. He became a single father to Lena. Lena was the same name as his sister and aunt. They both were named Lena as well. And Luthor did not want to marry again after everything that had happened with Contessa. So he was a single father. So, and Lex Luthor becomes the president of the United States afterwards. He wins the election on a platform of promoting technological progresses for the common people. So everybody's gonna benefit. No more hunger, no more anything. You don't have to worry about anything. Don't worry, I will take care of it. I'm your president. And his first action as a president was to take a proposed moratorium on fossil-based fuels to US Congress in hopes of putting a flying car in every garage. The last government was not that great, so Luthor's proposition of how he's going to bring change brought people to him, because like he's providing change and things like there was a scandal going on with No Man's Land, and that will be a part of another video. I'm not going to talk about it now because the video is already long and I'm not going to make it super long right now because I know you don't have time, I don't have time either. Like I just want you to know who Lex Luthor is. Ironically, Batman would ultimately learn that Luthor was involved in the mishandling of Gotham City's rebuilding process. As I mentioned earlier, he was helping rebuilding the town because he had done the same thing to Metropolis as well. Because Lex Corp had mishandled it, he decided on breaking up ties with the United States from Wayne Corp Obviously, what does Luthor do? He wants Batman gone. Like, he was standing in the way, and I was like, so obviously, what does he do? He puts out a hit on Batman. But an early triumph for Lex Luthor came his handling of the Imperial X War. The US Army, Earth superheroes, and then some unknown other alien species. The villain of the story, Imperiex. And guess what? Do you remember the boat? Do you remember how he knew in advance, but he just wanted to see it? He didn't do anything about it, even though he could have stopped it, that terrorist attack. So let's look back. Let's look forward in time here, right now. So what does he do? Well, he knows Earth is going to be attacked. He knows that you can do something to prevent it in advance. He knows he's not going to do anything about it. So he knew the whole time. And that brings us to the end of part 1 of the series about Lex Luthor. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you like it even more, share it with your friends. And if people want to know more about Lex Luthor, about who he was, where he came from, how evil he is, watch this video again. If you missed some information, you know it's YouTube, you can stop, pause, rewind, forward. So, watch it again, no actually wait, subscribe, like. But anyhow, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys the next time. Bye.